Every year, MLB Network puts together their top 10 right now at each position across the diamond in Major League Baseball. And I have been following suit here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast, bringing you my own top 10 right now at each one of those positions. I now have the privilege to be working with a tremendous team, and we're going to be bringing you our thoughts and our individual top 10 right now. We want to hear from you down in the comment section below. Who are your top 10 right now at each position? So now we're going to begin with our list. Our top 10 right now, looking at the position of shortstop. And to join me on this particular episode for top 10 right now, it is that of the esteemed Roman Rodriguez. What's going on, Rome?
What's going on, Jay? Thanks for having me as always. I'm really excited to get in a position that I never was considered to ever play in my best days ever. So clearly I'm qualified to talk about shortstops.
No, definitely. As I've said many years on this channel about this particular position on the baseball field, shortstop is my favorite. So this is the list that I deliberate very heavily on. I told you before we got on here live that I couldn't just stop at 10 at my top 10. I went through and did my top 20 shortstops. So maybe I'll reveal that second part of the list at a later date. But as we get started, let's jump into number 10.
All right. Am I going, my friend? Is that the rules?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So for number 10, I'm going to go with the X Factor, literally a man who has a lot of range, a great arm, and who's forgotten in a little town called Miami, and that's Xavier Edwards.
Nice. And what's the reason behind that?
The reason behind, because I do feel that not only is he underrated shortstop and he has a great arm, and he's also forgotten in Miami, but he's also a very good contact hitter with a lot of speed on the base pass. I do feel that if he was in a bigger market, he would probably get a little bit more accolades and a little bit more attention, but because he is currently forgotten in Miami, we tend to overlook him. So I definitely think that when we're talking about the 10 best shortstop right now, this guy has potential to really change and maybe even be a trade topic in the midseason. Who do you got?
For sure. Yeah, so for me, coming in at number 10, I have Mason Wynn, right? So this is a guy who, for me, just kind of like your pick with Xavier Edwards, is a guy that's on the come up. I think that Mason Wynn defensively is one of the best in the game right now. And while most of the time you're looking for offense from shortstop nowadays, this has always been primarily a defensive position. So for me, what he does defensively, Mason Wynn is just amongst the very best. And for me, I like having that at the position, and I think that he's going to be able to start to figure it out offensively and put himself in a great spot. So for me, at number 10, it is that of Mason Wynn.
Okay. Excellent choice. Mason Wynn just may miss the cusp for me, but many of the same reasons. And in my number 9, I'm going to go ahead and pull the Band-Aid off right now. Elly De La Cruz. Elly De La Cruz is my number 9. And I know, guys in Cincinnati, please, my name is Dave. D-A-V-E. You're welcome. But no, with Elly De La Cruz, he is definitely, in my opinion, a bat-first shortstop. And shortstop, I'm using that very loosely. When breaking down his numbers, he had, I believe, the most errors in shortstop, or at least top 2 in the last 2 years in shortstop position. I do think that he's the prime candidate to move elsewhere, and I think that would be very good for him. You cannot deny his bat. Absolutely, his bat is superb, wonderful, and a great contributor, but his skills at shortstop, I think he's better placed in other positions, and at some point he'll probably be moved to third or maybe first. But Elly De La Cruz.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting take on Elly. We'll see if he comes back in my list later on. But for me, at number 9, it's a veteran of this list, and it's Trea Turner, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
And while Trea's skill set is starting to diminish a little bit, I still think that he's one of the best in the game. His speed has not taken a real dip yet, and that's going to be the biggest factor for him. What he does with his legs, both sides of the baseball, is really something that I think is a game changer, and still for the Philadelphia Phillies, he's a game changer. So for me, I think that when you look at what Trea Turner can provide the Phillies on both sides of the baseball. To me, he's still in the top 10.
So number 8, I'm going to go with Jacob Wilson from the Ath or Sacramento. I don't know what we're going to call, but the athletic organization, formerly of Oakland, soon to be Vegas, currently of Sacramento. I don't know. But Jacob Wilson, in my opinion, is a star in the making. He reminds me a lot of JJ Hardy. He really has a lot of goods, a lot of intangibles, and on the offensive side, he's very scary. And really, what they're building there in Oakland or San Francisco, wherever, fill in the blank, wherever they're at with the green hats, that's where they're playing. Wherever they're playing, he's going to be a good contributing factor, and he's definitely a guy who's on the rise. So I have to go with Jacob Wilson.
So, just for preface, we did not share our list prior to recording, and very much like our picks here for the Detroit Tigers at the time, for who we believe they are as a pro wrestler, we matched up once again, Rome. So I at number 8 also have Jacob Wilson of the Homeless Athletics. And for all the same reasons, I think that what he's going to be as far as offensively, contact first type of player, understanding his game and his ability, a second generation superstar. I think that, Jacob Wilson is really a player on the rise, and he's going to surprise some people with what he's capable of doing. And he's going to surprise people because nobody's really going to be paying attention to the, athletics with no home location. So,
yeah. Definitely a very, very underrated player in my opinion, but it's definitely, if you're a baseball fan, you should definitely take a look at him. So
absolutely,
100%. Number 7, I'm going to go with someone who actually surprised me when I started crunching numbers. Mookie Betts. I got number 7. And Mookie Betts, I don't think I've ever respected him as a shortstop, to be very honest with you. I thought it was a gimmick, and when breaking down his numbers, when breaking down his skill set, he's actually legit. And in terms of his range, in terms of his outs made, in terms of his positioning, in terms of his footwork. So Mookie Betts, and he still has, even though his offensive numbers are depleting, I think age is starting to catch up with him. He's still a very solid bat. So absolutely, I got to go with Mookie Betts.
No, yeah, definitely a solid pick. Now, for me at number 7, I have Dansby Swanson of the Chicago Cubs. I think Dansby, much like Mason Wynn, who I mentioned earlier, is very, very strong and sound defensively. And I think that he's capable of providing more offense than what we've seen. And I think that, this is a player that is really starting to come into his own. And as the Chicago Cubs have started to kind of round that team into form, we saw them make the postseason last year. This is a guy who also, in my opinion, has really started to find his offensive footing. So I think that if Dansby Swanson can take that next step offensively, he can put himself into a higher echelon amongst the top 10 shortstops.
All right, number 6, Dansby Swanson. Oh boy, I don't know if you got the right guy on your roster for this one, man. But yeah, Dansby Swanson for much the same reasons. So how I went about organizing my list is I went a different route, and as maybe some of your viewers already know, I kind of like to think outside the box. Yeah. So what I did is I looked through each one of the top 10 fields of the guy. If they ranked top 10 this year, I subtracted Silver Slugger. I subtracted things that were subjected to votes, like All-Star games and things like that, MVP votes. I just focused on their position, and I even subtracted some of the more controversial ratings, where top 10s like defensive zone rating. And I just focused on, were you top 10 in hits? Were you top 10 in outs? Were you top 10 in errors? If you're top 10 in errors, I took away points for that. So that's how I came up with my numbers and my figures for the list that I've been helping out with for this channel. So Dansby Swanson actually ranked higher than some, and that's also why you'll see some fluctuation in terms of what looks good, and also, in my opinion, who passed the eye test. And Dansby Swanson, it's hard to say someone in Chicago is underrated, but I do think that he's underrated. And I think he's just so consistent and so smooth that you just kind of forget that he's there, much like a guy who's going to appear in my top 3. very soon. So, Dansby Swanson.
No, definitely. We get to my number 6 pick, it is that of Corey Seager of the Texas Rangers. I
Mhm.
think that Corey Seager is much like you mentioned with Dansby a moment ago. I think he's an underrated talent. I think that when we saw him get the $325 million deal from the Texas Rangers, you kind of overestimated what he was capable of doing, and he kind of didn't necessarily seem like a $300 million player. But
Mhm.
when you look at what he does for that Rangers squad, this is, when healthy, and that's the biggest kicker with Corey Seager is health. But if he
Mhm.
is a healthy player for the full season, this is a guy who can compete with the best of them for an MVP. This is a guy who can man the position of shortstop admirably and be able to put himself in a position to, carry a team. So I think for me, when you look at what this position commands, especially the way the game is played today,
Mhm.
I think that his combination of skill set is really, an upper echelon talent, and that's why he makes my top 10.
Number 5 for me is Trey Turner. Trey Turner, I know you touched on him earlier. To me, in my opinion, I think he's a slightly better version, at least now, than Seager in terms of his skill set, in terms of what he has. Yes, his bat's diminishing. I like Seager a little bit offensively better. But defensively, I think Trey Turner is still very strong and slightly better than Seager, hence why there's more of a nod on that. And Seager, I do feel, is kind of moving on to a different position, whereas Trey Turner, I think, is still there. And I think in another organization, Seager might be in a different position, but currently with Texas, we are currently having him, or they're currently having them fill that position. So, but Trey Turner, as you touched on earlier, um, he's an all-around strong player, and I do feel that he still is in the now in terms of what is relevant into the position. Unlike other players like Correa, who at least for me didn't make the list, he's not the now; he's more the then. So, no offense, Carlos.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, especially when you think with Carlos, he's been moved to third base in Houston
mhm.
now. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. As we get to my number 5 pick, it's
Mhm.
someone you mentioned earlier, and it's Mookie Betts. I think
Okay.
that Mookie Betts, when the call was made by the Dodgers to move him to shortstop, it did feel like a gimmick, right? It felt like, all right, well, this is a guy we can just throw anywhere on the field, and he'll just go out there and just get by. But Mookie has actually proven himself to be quite an adept defender at the shortstop position. Having the full offseason last year to work on it, as opposed to 2 weeks before the start of the season back in 2024. And I think that when you look at, even though yes, the skill set is starting to come down, I think that part of that is the more demanding position of shortstop than what he's doing in right field. So for me,
Mhm.
what Mookie does and what his presence means in that Dodgers lineup, for as important as Shohei Ohtani is, as important as Freddie Freeman is, the glue for me for that lineup is Mookie Betts.
Mhm.
And I think that when you look at what his all-around skill set is, to me, he's one of the very best shortstops in the game, and that's why he comes in at number 5 for me.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Again, can't go wrong there. Just when breaking down the numbers, Mookie really stood out. Hence why I think we both have them. So there you go. For number 4, I'm going to go with Gerardo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And with him, he again does it all, and he does it in a market that's not really seen as well because he's in the West Coast, he's in Arizona, and they're not as glitzy, and they're constantly overshadowed, in my opinion, by the LA Dodgers. And even to a degree to the San Francisco Giants overshadowed. If you just look in that division, a lot of people pay more attention to Willie Adames than they do Perdomo, but Perdomo in many ways is a superior shortstop. So I gotta go with Gerardo Perdomo.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. So I'll be honest, Perdomo just missed my list for the top 10. As talented as he is, I just felt that as I go through this position, there was just guys that I would have preferred to have over him at my starting shortstop position if I were drafting through the shortstop position in the league right now. So he didn't make my cut, but he was close. So for me at number 4, it was somebody you mentioned earlier, and it's Ellie De La Cruz. When you look at what Ellie does, he is
Mhm.
just a dynamic and electrifying talent. And yes, there's going to be some cleanup that has to happen for him defensively, without a doubt. But I think that when you have him be the offensive player that he is, he can really start to carry a team. I think that he's
Mhm.
one of the more underrated talents in baseball in terms of just pure, like, unbridled talent. And I think that if we can see a little bit more
Mhm.
of direction from Terry Francona in Dela Cruz's development, I think that he can round out into form. I think that for me would be really putting him over the top,
Mhm.
potentially even putting him in, as a sleeper pick for an MVP candidate,
Mhm.
just because of what he's capable of doing on the offensive side of the ball. If he can just clean up that defense even a little bit, become a league average defender at the position with the intangibles and the skills
Mhm.
that he has, just the raw ability that he has, I think that he could really put himself into a high echelon in terms of just overall players in Major League Baseball, not even just at the shortstop position. So for me, Ellie De La Cruz, I take a flyer on him as a number
Mhm.
4 candidate.
Excellent. Just one thing on De La Cruz. No doubt, if we're talking about the best hitters now, he would probably be top three, top four. Very exciting. A lot to do both on the base pass and his hit set. But it just in terms of shortstop, at least for me, you can like whoever you want. This is your list, but shortstop for me is just I'm looking a little bit more defensive than what he's
Yeah.
currently at, and he seems more of a liability, especially as he gets a little bit older. So
Oh, for
that's
sure.
my thought.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
And
So
and to be honest, it may be a guy that moves off the position in the next few years. But obviously going into 2026, I think that he's their best answer
mhm.
at the position.
All right, so number three, I gotta go Jeremy Pena. Jeremy Pena, I as much as it pains me in my heart to say anything positive about a Houston Astro, okay, I'm just going to pretend like he is maybe a Baltimore Oriole, so I kind of just roll my eyes more than grin. It's like no, but no, Jeremy Pena. This guy, he has a lot of range. He has great arm. If we're talking shortstops, we got to talk about Jeremy Pena. Great release, very smooth. He would probably be your starting shortstop on about 27 to 28 different major league teams now if they traded for him. That's how good he is. There's only probably two that would probably not have him, and that happens to be the two that are ahead of him in my list. So I got Jeremy Pena.
Yeah, great pick, great pick. I will say again, Pena just missed my list as well.
Ooh. Ooh.
So for me, coming in at number 3, it is Gunnar Henderson of the Baltimore Orioles.
Ooh.
I think that what he does offensively, and I think that he had a down year in
Yeah.
2025, but I just think that his skill set is just so strong that talent is going to bounce back in a big way in 2026. And I
Mhm.
think with the team that Baltimore has put around him now in this offseason, bringing in a guy like Pete Alonso to hit behind him is only going to make him that much more of a formidable
Mhm.
threat in 2026. So for me, obviously another guy who potentially could move off the position in the next couple of years. I
Yeah.
always felt like he was going to end up at third, kind of that Cal Ripken,
Mhm.
feat going from short to third and ending as a third baseman. But for 2026, he's plugged in to be their shortstop. So for me, Gunnar Henderson is a dynamic talent, and I still keep kicking my Yankees for not picking him up over Anthony Volpe, because that would be a very much a franchise changer and a game changer. So for me, Gunnar Henderson's at number 3.
Hey, never say that to a Rays fan because we chose Tim Beckham over some guy named Buster Posey. Okay. Oh
Now,
yeah.
before we get to revealing our top 2 shortstops in the game today, heading into
Mhm.
2026, we want to hear from you, baseball fans. We want to hear from you. List out your top 10 shortstops in the game right now.
Mm.
Let us know down in the comments where you agree or disagree with our picks, but we definitely want to hear from you. This is a absolutely fun and engaging opportunity each and every single year that MLB Network does this countdown. And when you look at what this ultimately does when you're trying to bring about this list and cultivate this list, it makes it a very difficult task to try and put away some of your personal bias and be able to really put together a formidable list and something that you can be proud of presenting. And before we got on here, Rome, I know you were saying you were trying to play a little bit of a homer, a hometown homer with Taylor Walls, and you
Ah.
just couldn't make it happen. So let everybody know before we get to our top two picks, kind of what the thought process was trying to fit Taylor Walls into your list.
All right. Well, all right. So, in terms of just the defensibility for Taylor Walls, he passes the sniff test in terms of his range, his arm, his thought process, his play make ability. You know, his web gem ism, if you will. He can make the diving shortstop. He can make it in the hole. He can do everything that you want in a shortstop. That's superb. He really has great skill around the bag, and he makes others around him better because he doesn't expose their range. And that's what you want from your starting shortstop defensively. So so he's pretty much the reverse of Ellie De La Cruz. Now that I think about it, the more I talk, is like, man, if we could just take him and De La Cruz and mix them up. Like I got this image of like a Taylor Walls with the dreads, just looking smoking fantastic. Yeah, it's great. But no, offensively, he's all over the place. If he would just shorten up and be a contact hitter and embrace his contact hitter sense and be the pace hitter, because he's got speed. He's got speed. He's got good range, and he's pretty good around the base pass, advancing from first to third. If he would just do that, he would definitely be easily in everyone's top 6 for top shortstops, just because his defensive ability is extremely underrated, in my opinion. But unfortunately, his offensive speaks louder than his defense. So that was my thought process. Yeah, when we started this, I had my rough sketch of who I thought would be my top 10. And when doing research, not many withstood the test, if you will. Not many at all. A lot of them went to the wayside, and a lot like Mookie Betts surprised me. What about you? Was there anybody that you were hoping to put on there, and then it's like, now you couldn't, with good heart, put on there at all?
Yeah, so the three guys that really just missed the list for me, that was really a debate, was Gerardo Perdomo, Jeremy
Mhm.
Pena, and Willie Adames. I really would have liked to have tried to fit any one of the three in there for different reasons, but ultimately, they just didn't measure up to the other guys that I had on the list. And I think, obviously the biggest one that you could probably debate is my number 10 with Mason Wynn. But I feel like just what he does defensively, in comparison, I think that he's going to be a tremendous offensive player in the next coming couple of seasons. So I'm really banking on and giving that, kind of wild card pick to Mason Wynn on my list.
Okay.
But any one of those three guys could have easily ended up at the position as well at my number 10 spot. But yeah, those would have probably been the other ones that would have potentially made my list.
Yeah, to me, with Willie Adames, Mason Wynn, I can see your point, but Willie Adames, no. And yeah, full disclosure, I'm a Rays fan, so maybe there might be some
A little
anti-bias
biased.
there. But here's the thing: is, to me, Willie Adames was never the guy. He has a lot of moments where he can be the guy, but in terms of his defensive metrics and other aspects of him, he's always been maybe somewhere in the top 15-ish, but never a top 10. And don't get me wrong, he's a good guy. He's a great clubhouse guy. All you want to say, all the rah-rah stuff, fantastic. And he has some good moments, but it's not a clip show. It's not a montage. Game is about consistency. I mean, when you pull up your numbers, a lot of people are shocked with how low his batting average is and how low his numbers are because of how he's showcased. You would think that he was much greater. You would think that it was a Yankee, actually, but no.
I would take him as shortstop right now.
Well, you can have Taylor Walls, huh?
Yeah,
Would you take Taylor Walls? No?
I mean, yes and no. Yes and no.
There you go.
Defensively, sure. Offensively, it's the same boat that what you were just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Um,
we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, so but no, good solid picks, man. All right, so when talking about people that surprised me, this guy surprised me for my number two, and that's Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor, I forgot how long he's been playing, and for him to be top 10 now for my list is pretty remarkable. But if you took a look at where he was top 10 just last year for all the lists, whether it's hits, average, whether it's his defensive rating in terms of his fielding percentage, in terms of outs made, in terms of assists that he made, so on and so forth, turn double plays, things that you're looking for, he's right there consistently in the top 10 just in
yep.
about every category. And it's hard to deny, as much as I wanted to have an age bias, if you will, for this, and maybe a recency bias, and put someone a little bit more fresh in there. At some point, you got to say, no, you got to include him.
Yep.
And yeah, Francisco Lindor, I enjoyed him in Cleveland. I kind of forgot about him in New York just because he wasn't as predominant in my eyes. He was much more showcased in Cleveland, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of gets forgotten at times in Queens. But Lindor is my number two. Who do you got for your number two?
Frankie Lindor. So
Thank you,
I
Doc.
think
Oof.
for everything that you just said, Mr. Smiles is one of the best to ever do it at the shortstop position. Both sides of the baseball, he's consistent. When the Mets moved him up to the leadoff spot, he really started to take off and put himself in a position, to put himself into one of the upper echelon players in Major League Baseball, and not just as a shortstop. So yeah, I mean, Frankie Lindor's been doing it for a long time, but he's still one of the best. It's going to be very difficult for the rest of the guys on this list to really come knock him off the list. Outside of, number one, who I believe we probably have the same guy as number
Yeah, we
one.
do.
So who you got in number one, Rome?
I got Mr. Bobby Witt Jr. Mr. Bobby Witt Jr. What can we say that we probably won't already say very soon? And again, with my approach to this, it's easy to take away bias out of it because I'm counting on if you are top 10. It's just purely what you're doing. And Bobby Witt, I thought he was a guy that was much better last year than this year. And even so, he's still my number one because of just how good he is in so many different categories. Whether it's steals, whether it's hitting for power, whether it's RBIs, whether it's defensively. Granted, he's not as good as some of the other guys that we have, but he is so good everywhere else. He kind of counteracts that, and he doesn't hurt you in the shortstop position, unlike somebody that we've talked about before. Wink. So he is very you gotta give it number one, Bobby Witt Jr. Sorry, America, but that's my thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, very much for the same thing. Bobby Witt Jr. is my number one. It was very easy for me to list Bobby as the number one shortstop for me in the game right now. Obviously, I think the world of him offensively. I think this is a guy who can be a perennial MVP candidate. A guy who, as crazy as it sounds, is still underrated, and a guy that's still growing into his skill set. And I think that, what we've already seen from him offensively, the improvements that he's made defensively, I think that he's only going to get better as he continues to mature in the game. And that's a scary thought for anybody that's playing against him for the next decade, because I think that this is going to be a guy that is going to dominate the league in a very short-term fashion. So for me, it was very, very easy to name Bobby Witt Jr. as the number one shortstop in the game.
Awesome. Well, it's good to know that we agree on some things.
Definitely. So, but again, we want to hear from you, baseball fans. We want to hear your thoughts, your feelings down in the comment section below. What do you think about our list, respectively? What would your top 10 shortstop list look like for the upcoming 2026 campaign? Let us know all of that down in the comment section below. And while you're there, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below, as it does truly help us continue to build and grow this baseball community here on the Baseball Banter broadcast. As we continue to try to build out our team here, if you are interested in joining us to talk about your favorite squad because you're not hearing enough coverage about them, let us know and reach out. There's definitely a place where you can join us to have that conversation. And as always, for Rome and myself, we are thanking you for joining us here on the top 10 shortstops right now. Keep it locked into the Baseball Banter broadcast as we continue to cover every single position. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.